Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about transit Pluto conjunct one's natal ascendant. Now, when we're talking about transits that involve Pluto, they can be about transformation, power, obsession, and control. And when transit Pluto hits the natal ascendant, well, it may manifest in transformation, power, maybe obsession and control with the physical body. You might be very overly obsessed with your appearance, your physique at this time, and also want more control over it. Whether it might be things pertaining to your health, or physical health, for example. Things that you might do that might cause overexertion is another example. And thing is, you might at this time as well. This is your. It's not. I mean, the ascendant is the physical body and the appearance, but it's also connected with your outlook on life. So it could be a time where you might make some transformation in terms of how you view things, whether it's being, whether you were being overly optimistic or pessimistic, as an example, or if this was in Taurus, it could be an exceptionally down to earth outlook on life. The ascendant is also the vitality and energy. And when you talk about conjunctions in astrology, they basically can go either way. Conjunctions are neutral aspects. This can be a time where it might give more power in terms of your physical energy and vitality. You might feel more empowered to do things and get your burst of energy. But it could also be a time too where you might feel it's obliterated, destroyed. And a lot of it, is predicated on the aspects that this makes the points in your chart in terms of how it may manifest, whether it's manifesting positively or negatively. It can be also too where you might be. This could also be about being obsessed and fixated with new beginnings at this time. It could be Plutonian, like new beginnings, such as doing something with the occult, which includes astrology. Uh, it can be a time too, as well. You look at the ascendant can also be connected with a grandparent, and not to be overly morose or morbid. Sometimes it can be. It can manifest or be expressed in the death of one. Remember that Pluto is connected with death, and the thing too is ascendant is also associated with our early childhood, so it can be something too where you might experience the death of somebody uh, connected that was prominent in your early childhood. It could be a childhood friend from when you were very young. It could also be a time too where it could be maybe there's a power struggle with this person or even a grandparent. It could also be a time too where, you look at this as well. The ascendant is connected with the environment. You might be going into, could be a neighborhood or an area that might have strong, as far as criminal activity goes. So it's important to be very careful at this time. The Pluto's connected with corruption. It can be a time too where, but at the same time, it could also manifest in having more power and control over your own environment where you may live, even. And also, the ascendant is associated with first impressions. So it might be a time where you might come across as more intimidating, more imposing, more so than usual on a first impression, more mysterious, secretive. You might appear very charismatic and magnetic. And the ascendant is also connected with that side that we express very readily and easily. So it can be a time, and again, it's going back to, you can be expressing, more of an imposing nature, more powerful, energy at this time, more so than usual. It might be something where you might even come across a little bit more controlling than usual. And also, too, the ascendant is also associated with defense mechanisms. So It might be a time too where you might not. I mean, Pluto is about obliteration and destruction, and its transformation as well, of course. And the thing is, how you respond to certain things, your defensive mechanisms, how you're going to react and respond in a situation that is unsure or uncertain. You might change totally at this time. Maybe that energy is destroyed and it's being supplanted with something else. I mean, if it was a Taurus, it might be a less stubborn or obstinate front, in an unsure situation. And the ascendant is also associated with how others may perceive us. So it might be where Pluto could be very secretive energy. You might be perceived as more secretive, more mysterious at this time, maybe even more complex than usual. And again, another way Venus can manifest and pan out, you might be more imposing, a little more intimidating on a first impression, more so than usual. Uh, you might be more fixated on your appearance and how you look, how others are going to perceive you. Say if this is a Virgo, for example, it could be about being dressed very meticulously and neat. Um, you might be overly obsessed on not appearing disheveled to others. And also too, and again, it can be, and not to be overly morbid or morose, but just as far as what Pluto means, it can manifest in the death of a first house person. It could be somebody that was instrumental or played an integral role in your early childhood. It may be a grandparent. It could be somebody that was prominent in your new beginnings in some cases. Could also be a time to looking at this. Could also be about Plutonian new starts or beginnings. It could be where you may start some position as a coroner or as a surgeon or doing something with the occult, which includes astrology. It could be investigation, as some examples. The environment again might be a little bit more mysterious. It might be more corrupt at this time. It might be your environment might be such where there's more crime in it, or could also be one where again it can be more mysterious. It can be something where you're really not sure about the people that are in it. It could also be something too, you might transform your view of life, and say if this is in Capricorn as an example, it might be something where your view or outlook on life may be less pessimistic or negative. You may try to see the glass as being half full in contrast to it being half empty. The defense mechanisms, as I'll reiterate, might be obliterated at this time, or it might give more power to it as well. Could really go either way, I would say, with transit like this. And you also might be more extreme come across more of an extremist on a first impression. I know a prominent family member of mine has Pluto in her first house natal. And she's, I would say, extremist personality. She also has the Sun in Scorpio, so go figure. And she said one time, I said, "You're really extremist, aren't you?" I said to her. She said, "Well," she was very adamant in her response and saying, "I'll be an extremist," and acted like, she was proud of it. And that's, Plutonian energy can be very extreme, to say the absolute least. The thing about it is, say if this transit wasn't Scorpio, it could be about maybe more power and coming on strong on a first impression, but it could also be where you might be trying to eliminate that energy to some degree and transform it, because Pluto can go that way as well. Now, in isolated cases, it may also be expressed, this transit, in terms of a surgery, because Pluto is connected with surgery. Say if it's an Aquarius, for example, it might be surgery on the ankles, the calves, the shins, the lower legs. It could also be where Pluto is associated with rebirth and regeneration, so it might be where you might be revitalized at this time if you were at a point where you felt like your energy was dissipated or depleted, it may be something where it might be revitalized and revived at this time. Hold on a moment. Sorry about that. I'm back, but anyway. And it could also be issues, I mean, Plutonian physical related issues, because Pluto is associated with the colon, the bladder, the prostate, the reproductive system. So there can be some physical issues with that. And also, in some cases, too, you might, because the ascendant is the physical body, again, it could be about being maybe expressed as transit being a victim of some coercion, bullying, even kidnapping in some cases. Pluto is also crime in general, so there might be more of a susceptibility to being a victim of a crime. Say if you have this transit in Capricorn, it might be some kind of business crime or some kind of career, something maybe that impacts your career, or it could be your status and reputation. It could be somebody, posing as somebody from the government, worker, and trying to get money from you that they're not entitled to. So I mean, there's a lot of ways, of course, a multitude of ways this could manifest. But anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.